So today we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. What are integers? Nice positive and negative numbers, right? No decimals, no fractions, because if you ever end up with a decimal or fraction, that would be classified as a rational number. So when we say integers, we're talking about nice positive, negative numbers. So rules for adding and subtracting. I say think of money, right? What do I mean by think of money? Anything that has a negative sign or a minus sign, that means that you owe. Anything that's positive means that you have, right? So if we look at this guy, this is saying -2. That's saying that I owe $2, right? A -3, that means that I owe $3. So if I owe somebody 2, I owe somebody 3, I owe a lot, I owe a total of 5, okay? Same thing here. Like I said, a negative means you owe, a minus sign means you owe. So if you owe 2 and you owe 3, you're going to owe a lot. You're going to owe a total of 5, right? So you don't have to think of money. You could also just memorize the rules. I don't really like memorizing the rules, but if you like rules, that's fine. What are the rules? If the signs are the same, you add them and keep the sign. If the signs are different, you subtract them and keep the sign of the larger number. So if we look at this guy right here, the signs are different. You have a -3 and a +5. Signs are different. Subtract, it's 5 minus 3. The answer is 2 because the bigger number is positive, so that's a +2. If you like the rules, think of the rules. If not, just, oh, this means I owe $3. This means I have $5. Could I pay them off? Yeah, I have $5. If I pay them off the 3, I'll have 2 left over. Okay, and since you have 2 left over, that's a +2. So it's totally up to you guys if you want to use the rules or if you want to think of money. Okay, let's flip this paper over right now and let's do that first column of adding and subtracting, or the first 2 columns of adding and subtracting. So when we're looking at this one, if you're thinking of money, what does this mean? You owe 11. What does this mean?
You have $5.
You have $5. You only have 5 in your pocket. You owe somebody 11. Could you pay them off completely? No. You could at least give them the 5, but what are you going to say? I still owe you 6. So I still owe you 6. There you go. All right. So obviously, the bigger the numbers, it takes a little more thought. Let's see, which one's probably the most challenging one? They're all pretty easy. Right here, number 7. If you think of money, what does this mean?
You're owing $23.
Yep. And what does this mean?
You owe 12.
And you owe 12. So you owe and you owe. You're going to owe a lot. How much do you owe? 35. You owe 35. So that's why it's -35. Okay. So what I would like you to do right now is, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot one of the most important rules when it comes to adding and subtracting. If you ever have a minus negative right next to each other, you have to change them both to positive. Minus minus changes both to plus plus. And then you think about money. You owe 7. You have 16. You have a lot of money. You only owe somebody $7. So if you pay them off, you're going to have how much left over? 9. Right? So let's work on this, on these first 2 columns, adding and subtracting. We're going to hold off on the multiplying and dividing. We'll get to that in a little while. Let's just work on that adding and subtracting. If you're at home doing this, hit pause because I'm about to show the answers in a little bit. Some of us haven't finished, it's okay, but I want to show you the answers so you could check your work as you go. If you're doing this at home, you could verify your answers here. You know what? I did these answers very quickly, so if you see something wrong, please let me know. I might have made a mistake. I always make mistakes, especially when I rush through them. So I hope we understand, like, you know, right here, number 4, I owe 11, I owe 14. I'm going to owe a lot. I'm going to owe 25. If you owe 11 and you have 17, you could pay them off. You're going to have $6 left over. If you owe 24 and only have 11, man, you're going to pay off the 11, but you still owe $13, right? And of course, wherever you have a minus minus, you have to change it to plus plus. So you owe 24, you have 20 because it's a plus 20. You're going to owe 4, right? So I hope we're verifying all of our answers. I hope you guys got these answers correct. And we are going to have maybe 5 of these on the quiz, not 30 on the quiz Friday, just 5, right? And we're going to do it without a calculator. And I'm not going to do big numbers like negative 13 and 24. It's going to be like negative 3 and positive 5, right? Something that you could easily do in your head. Okay, so let's go back to the front side. So I hope we're good with adding and subtracting integers. All you got to do is think of money, or if you want, think of the rules. If the signs are the same, these are both negative, add them and keep the sign. 2 plus 3 is 5, it's negative 5. You could use a rule, or you could think of money. Now on multiplying, you're going to have to use a rule, right? And what are the rules for multiplying? If the signs are the same, the answer is positive. That's always the case. If the signs are the same, the answer is positive when you are multiplying. So a negative 3 times a negative 2, the signs are the same, the answer is going to be a positive 6. Now if the signs are different, negative 3 and positive 4, the signs are different, the answer is going to be negative. Okay? I always say, what helped me in high school, remember this, would be a negative times a negative equals a positive, right? You just keep repeating it. A negative times a negative equals a positive. So if the signs are the same, the answer is going to be positive. If the signs are different, the answer is going to be negative. So something very important to know is to tell the difference when you're actually multiplying or when you're actually adding and subtracting. Okay? So when there's no sign between the two numbers, that's when you're multiplying. Right here, it's 2 times 3. There's no sign between the parentheses. So that would be 6 right there. Right here, you're also multiplying because there's no sign between the parentheses. What would this answer be? Negative 6, right? Because a positive times a negative is a negative 6 in this case. So all of these examples, the 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all examples of multiplying. Okay. Now, these other ones are not examples of multiplying. Why not? Because this says 2 in parentheses minus 3. Now, if I had the parentheses around it and called it a negative 3, then it would be multiplication. But because there's a sign between the two terms, you are thinking of money. You're subtracting in that case. Right here, you're not multiplying because there's a plus sign. Okay? So I hope we understand that. Let's say we're not good at memorizing the rules that if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is negative. You could always use this little storyline of multiplication and division to help you, because multiplication and division have the same rules. Okay? So if a good thing happens to a good person, that's pretty good, right? Somebody's always nice, helping other people out, always donating money to charity, and they win the lottery. That's a good thing. A good thing happens to a good person, that's good. If a bad thing happens to a good person, that's bad, right? Like let's say somebody's always donating their money to charity, and then somebody hacks into their bank account and steals all their money, right? That's bad, right? A bad thing happened to a good person, that's bad, okay? If a good thing happens to a bad person, that's bad also. So like let's say somebody's robbing a bank and then the next day they win the lottery. That's a good thing that happened to a bad person. That's bad. That's not cool, right? If a bad thing happens to a bad person, that's good.
That's good.
What the heck? Let's say there's I want to go extreme here. There's a serial killer out there, right? And he's killing people. That's a bad thing. But he gets hit by a bus and he dies. That's a good thing, right? Okay? A bad thing happens to a bad person. So if you're thinking, what the heck does this have to do with multiplying? Well, a good thing is a positive, right? That's a positive. Happens to a good person. So if you have a positive times a positive, that's going to be a positive. A bad thing, that's a negative, happens to a good person, that's a positive. That's going to be bad. That's going to be a negative. So it's just the rules, but in a storyline to help you memorize those rules, right? If a good thing happens to a bad person, if a positive times a negative, what's that going to be? That's going to be a negative. And if a bad thing happens to a bad person, that's saying if a negative happens to a negative, multiplying it, that's good. The answer is positive. I know that might even be confusing to some of you. If it's confusing, ignore that rule, ignore that storyline. Just remember, if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is negative. And that's for multiplication. Okay. So down here we've had several examples of adding and subtracting. We also have multiplying and dividing, because division has the same exact rules as multiplication. So if we go down here to some of these examples, you see you have 4 times 9, that's 36. But if the signs are different, the answer is going to be a negative. Right? So all these signs are different. That's why all these answers are negative. Right here, all the signs are the same. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay? Dividing, you could have a fraction. A fraction is really a division problem. So right here I have negative 30 divided by 5. So the signs are different. This one's negative, this one's positive. The answers are going to be negative, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. Or it doesn't have to be written like a fraction. It might be written as a division problem from left to right. Negative 20 divided by positive 4. The signs are different. Your answers are going to be negative. Okay. We also have, this wasn't down here. We might as well write this down here. Let's write down multiplication of a fraction with a number. So let's do this. Everybody put down 1/2 times negative 8. Everybody do that. 1/2 times negative 8. At the bottom of your worksheet right there, there's a little bit of space. Let's write down 1/2 times negative 8. So what could we do here? There's a couple of options. You could make that negative 8, that integer, make it look like a fraction, make it look like a rational number, which it technically is a rational number. But anyways, anything on top is technically being divided by what's on the bottom, okay? So right here, 1 divided by 2, you can't really do that. That's why we leave it like a fraction. 8 divided by 1, yeah, that's negative 8. But when we have a negative 8 on top, you could technically divide it by the bottom 2, okay? You could say 8 divided by 2. What's 8 divided by 2? Yeah, it's going to be a negative 4 because that was a negative 8. So that would cancel with this, and you'll have a negative 4 left over up on top. And then you would say, okay, 1 times negative 4, the answer will be negative 4. Or I could take that same exact problem. Let me rewrite it. And again, put it over 1. And you could, here's another option. Instead of canceling out, instead of dividing the top with the bottom, instead of dividing the 8 with the 2, you could, if you wanted to, just multiply straight across. The numerator 1 times the numerator negative 8. What does that give you as a numerator? Negative 8. 2 times 1, what does that give you? 2. So this is your answer, but you still need to actually divide, right? What is negative 8 divided by 2? Negative 4. So you get the same exact answer. I'm just showing you many different roads to the same place. That way, whatever you're more comfortable with, that's what you should do. All right? So let's write another one down here. Let's say I had negative 2/3 times, what do we say, negative 6. Negative 2/3 times negative 6. So you guys get to pick. Do you want to, let's put that 6 over a 1. Do you want to multiply top with the top, bottom with the bottom, and then divide? Or do you want to start dividing right now, like this 6 right here with this 3? It's totally up to you. You guys want to multiply top with the top, bottom with the bottom, and get answers and then divide? Or do you want to divide first and then multiply across? What do you say? Who wants to multiply first? Who wants to cancel first? Who doesn't care? All right, you don't care. What time do we leave? Come on, guys, focus on the lesson. Yeah, what? That's just rude, man. Yeah, it's just like messed up right there. That's like saying. You want to multiply? Okay, you want to multiply. He said he wants to multiply. We're gonna multiply. So guys, check it out. He says multiply. We're gonna multiply this negative on the 2/3. We're gonna say that that's negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 6. What's negative 2 times negative 6? Positive 12. And then take 3 times 1, and you get 3. So what's your final answer going to be?
4.
4, because 12 on top divided by 3 on the bottom, that's going to be 4. All right? Now, let's just do it the other way also, even though I said pick. Let's do it the other way also. You could have put the 1 underneath the 6 and then said, hey, this 6 divided by this 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So you could have said 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then multiplied negative 2 times negative 2. That'll also give me 4. Same exact answer, just done a different way. So hopefully we now have the ability to do the backside multiplying and dividing problems. Let's flip it over to the backside. Whoops, those are the answers. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, what's the answer going to be there? Negative 56. Okay, how about number 1 over here? Negative 4. That's right, negative 4. Okay, how about number 2 right here?
30, because it's
Yep.
negative times a negative equals positive.
Negative times a negative equals a positive. That's right. How about number 2?
Negative 24.
No, actually, number 2 over here. Sorry.
Oh, it's 4.
That's positive 4. Okay, so you guys could handle the rest. In a couple of minutes, I want to show you the answers. Well, actually, a couple of seconds on the video. I want to pause it right here. If you're at home watching this, doing this for the first time, pause it right now. Then I'll show you the answers in a couple of seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Let's say, like number 4. A lot of people get confused because a lot of us don't know the multiplication tables of 13 or 14 or 15, right? But it's kind of like a distributive property problem where 13, or this negative 13 in reality, you could make that 13, you could think of it as a 10 plus 3, all right? First of all, let's begin with the signs. What's a negative times a negative?
A positive.
You know the answer is going to be positive, so you don't even have to deal with signs anymore, right? So the answer is going to be positive.
6.
So what you really have is 13, but how about this? In your head, if you said 13 is really 10 plus 3, right? And then you have the 5 over here. Now notice I'm not putting any negatives because we already said a negative times a negative is a positive. I don't have to worry about negatives. But in my head, the 13, I could say 10 times 3. Why would I say, not 10 times 3, 10 plus 3. Why would I say 10? Because I know what 5 times 10 is. What's 5 times 10? 50. Okay, so I have 50, but then what's 5 times 3? 15. So if I have 50 plus 15, the answer will be 65. So that's a little trick. It's called distributive property. We're going to be doing that later on in this class, but it's a little trick that you guys could apply on any problem that's bigger than 12 when you're multiplying. So like number 6, for example. Number 6. 9 times 13, that's hard, right? But 9 times 10, that's pretty easy, okay? First of all, is the answer going to be positive or negative? Negative. A positive times a negative equals a negative. So I don't have to worry about the negative signs anymore. But I did say that 9 times 10 would be easy. But of course, I would need 3 more to get to the 13 that we originally started with. So 9 times 10 is 90. 9 times 3 is 27. 90 plus 27 would be 117. So it's just a little trick you could do. Same thing with number 7. 7 times 15, that's kind of difficult. But if I had 7 times 10,
70.
and then plus 5, in other words, 7 times 5. Do you guys see what I'm doing here? This little trick I'm doing? No? Okay. I have 15 here, right? Let's begin with the signs. A negative times a negative is a positive. So you don't have to worry about the signs. I'm going to ignore the signs. But I do know that 15 could be rewritten as 10 and 5. 10 and 5 is 15. So why would I change the 15 to a 10? Because 7 times 10 is 70. That's pretty easy. And how about 7 times 5? It's 7 times 5 is 35. Now, if you actually did 70 plus 35, 70 plus 30 is 100, 5 more would be 105. It's just a little trick. Now, the rest are pretty basic. On the quiz Friday, I'm not going to give you big numbers like this, all right? So don't freak out. I just want you to practice right now. And even still, after the quiz Friday on future quizzes, I will let you use calculators so we don't make basic mistakes. But right now, I want to, since we're dealing with integers, I want you guys to focus in on integers. All right, so I hope we've had enough time to get this done. If you're doing this at home for the first time and you haven't finished, hit pause because I'm about to show the answers. If you haven't finished right now in class, don't copy them down. Don't copy them down. You could always watch this on the video and copy them down later. But here are the answers. Not only that, I will end up posting these answers on Edmodo as a PDF so you guys could check your answers as you go. I will always provide answers for you for the homework. So anyway, this is pretty much it for what we're going to be having on the quiz Friday. We're going to have classifying numbers, right? real numbers. We start with natural numbers. You grow up a little, you understand whole numbers. You grow up a little, you understand integers, and then you have rational numbers, and you also have irrational. We're also going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying positive and negative numbers. Pretty much everything we've been doing. We're going to have a couple of comparisons where I give you two fractions, and you have to see which one's bigger with the correct inequality. All that stuff's going to be on Friday's quiz. Please be ready for it.